Keep on riding with us as we continue to broadcast the balance and defend the discourse from these Hip Hop Weekly studios. Welcome back to Civic Cipher. I'm your host, Ramses Ja.
He is Ramses Ja. I am Q Ward. You are hopefully still tuned in to Civic Cipher.
If not, then welcome to the show. We're having a good time here. We are joined by Brandy Irvin and Talay Hornback from the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We were having a conversation about a Kamala Harris rally that recently took place here in Arizona. And now we are going to spend the next part of the show figuring out how to have conversations with people who disagree with us, politically speaking, online. So buckle up, because Q is going to give us all the game that we saw him deploy this past week.
You keep positioning that
yeah,
way,
man,
like I'm some sort of expert on the topic.
I witnessed a master at work, and you will learn his secrets today. So please stick around for that and so much more. Wow. But before we get there, let's discuss BABA, Becoming a Better Ally, BABA. And today's BABA is sponsored by Friends of the Movement. You can sign up for the free voter wallet from FOTMglobal.com to support Black businesses and allied businesses, as well as make an impact with your spending. Again, that's FOTMglobal.com. Today, I'm going to share a letter. You know, BABA is a segment that we dedicate to people who have done great things and people who've done nice things and whatever, but this really is just about being who you are and coming as you are and doing what you can. And this happened. Q doesn't know this, but I'm going to share it. We got a letter from a lady named Laura. It says, "Hi Ramses, Ja, and Q. I was listening to your most recent show on KOPN Columbia, Missouri. You were talking about getting some hate mail. It's no surprise in this crazy time. Speaking the truth puts you right in the crosshairs. I wanted to send you a different kind of note, from a white person, as it were. I always appreciate your show, and was completely caught by surprise when you asked the question about the magic wand. Would you rather have cheap gas, cheap food, or cheap housing? As a person who's never been insecure as far as housing, my first thought was all three were equal in value. I was so impressed by your explanation. I see it everywhere I go in our town. Besides the crazy market everywhere, college students here have priced working people out of affordable housing, and landlords rent to them rather than take a housing voucher. Thanks for continuing the good work of keeping us informed, Laura." And Laura, the reason that you are our Baba this week is because you don't know what it means to have a kind word sometimes, when all the words that you hear are either from the echo chamber of your own making. Q and I, we spend a lot of time together, or the words from social media where, you know, our algorithm puts us with people that would probably rather see us and our children dead if they had their way. So this letter means a lot, and we want to say thank you for being a better ally. Now we are going to take some time to have Q tell us a story. So we have some action steps that we'll get to a little bit later, but something. Let me set you up a little better than that. You deserve better than that, Q. I saw Q. You know, we're friends on social media, of course, and he put up a post of something that he should have been very excited about. We had press credentials to go to the Kamala Harris rally in Arizona, and I understand and respect that no matter what, politics is complicated, and you have one person that's supposed to be all things to all people, right? I understand and see that entirely, but for some people who get excited, reasonably excited about a person that they see themselves in, or that they see, you know, whatever, or that if this candidate makes the people around me happy, if Kamala Harris makes my little sister happy, guess what? I'm happy. That's the end of the sentence. Doesn't matter, because my sister is the most important person to me. There are people who will jump in and try to rob you of that moment, rob you of that joy. And Q is one of these people that approaches social media very cautiously. You might, if you follow our social media, you might see my afro on a lot more pictures than you see Q's beanie. But that's because, you know, we have our different, Q's strengths are in certain places and my strengths are in others. That doesn't mean that I'm invincible, but I will never let my brother fall on a sword that I can take myself, right? And we have this approach to each other. Well, in the comments section of a post that he put up where he was sharing the credentials of that rally. Again, something that we would have never anticipated or expected that we would even be a part of, much less, hey, you guys come up to the front, you stand right here, you got good audio, that sort of thing, where we're the kind of the important people in Rome. They're making sure we're taken care of. To be proud of that and to be happy and excited about a candidate that is a little bit closer to our age and kind of has some of our sensibilities are shared with this candidate. There's nothing wrong with Q sharing a little bit about that moment. Well, I'm tagged in the post in question, and so I got a lot of the comments that people were sharing. And I'm not a social media person like that. I posted ghosts because I ain't here for it either. But I noticed that there was one person that kind of kept coming back, and I'm like, uh-oh, I know what that means. There's a discussion, and if it's a discussion online, it's not really a discussion, right? And so I'm going to turn it over to Q to kind of take it from there and kind of tell us what was happening, and then of course I want you both to chime in if and when you feel that it's appropriate.
So interesting to be positioned as some sort of social media expert, especially with regard to non-constructive dialogue. Some of my personal friends noticed that for about 4 years I was completely absent from social media. There was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was no nothing, because I went through what they now call bullying, but back then it was just mean people. But there were thousands of mean people because of something that I went through in my personal life that brought an audience with it. In real life, there's not much that I can't stand up to. I show up completely as myself in spaces in person, and in most cases, and by most I mean like 99%, you'll get one of the most pleasant people you've ever encountered. Unless, however, you run afoul of someone that I care about. And then as justly as I could possibly show up, a different version of me avails itself. But again, those encounters are rare in person, because most people in person are not as bout it as they would have you believe they are online.
Right.
In recent years, since Ramses and I stepped away from the entertainment side of our career into the social justice and activist space, the type of interactions that we get from followers and listeners and people who would, as Ramses so eloquently put, would probably rather the worst outcomes for us, people that look like us and those that we care about, they show up in a way that's very, very aggressive, very, very negative, and very, very mean. So from the beginning of the show, I've kind of not engaged at all with our comment section. But as the show grew, so did the comment section. And once it became something that was noticeable, I removed myself as an admin from our website, from our socials, and deleted social media apps from my phone with regards to my personal accounts, because I just don't do well with the negative discourse online. This hit me more specifically and more personally when Donald Trump became president, because there have been topics and things throughout our collective lives that Black people used to be united on. Like 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had to wonder if any of my friends supported Donald Trump. It would have been a very obvious no. Like every Black person I knew would have been in solidarity on that point. The reason why I know that's true is because O.J. Simpson was on trial for something that most people know he was on trial for. And without having to gather facts, without having to have a meeting, Black people kind of unilaterally and collectively supported him. That was not because we knew OJ was a great man or that we knew that he was innocent. We just knew what black people's relationships were like with law enforcement. And in the wake of Rodney King, O.J. Simpson presented himself as a symbol that black people could unify and say, okay, not this time. We probably didn't do that correctly. However, the reason why we showed up the way that we did was obvious. We had been under the thumb of law enforcement in this country since
the whole
law enforcement was created.
Absolutely.
So when we watched a black man in the name of Rodney King be the victim of police violence on video, and there be zero accountability for it, the next time a black man, especially a famous black man, was put in a position where it was him versus the LAPD, collectively black people just said, okay, we riding with him on this one. That group of black people would not have in any way stood for the type of candidate that Donald Trump was, because once upon a time he was a celebrity that black people kind of shouted out. You know, once upon a time, Nelly dropped his name in one of the biggest hip hop songs ever. But as we learned, more about him, and especially his quote unquote politics, because that's an interesting way to put it, because he doesn't politic, he doesn't give you policy, he does not legislate, he just sows division and hate. When that happened, I, in all of my naivete, showed up very upset about that result, and expected people that I care about and that I know to feel like I felt, but au contraire, mon frere.
And people who look like you.
Yes. But even people that don't, right? If you know me and you've met me and you've held my child, my Mexican and black child, that's important to say. Because when these people are screaming, build that wall, I think you would expect that that wouldn't be something I'd be happy about if you're somebody that claims to care about me. So as my DMs started to fill up with people who look like me and those that don't, in defense of all the great things Donald Trump had done for black people, okay, I got to get off of this thing again. And, you know, most recently as Civic Cipher has grown way beyond what Ramses and I thought when we were just trying to get on in the middle of the night on Saturdays to give people like yourselves a platform to talk about important moments like this. We did not know we would then end up on the radio in 76 cities and growing, and across digital platforms from every way that you can access digital media. As your audience grows, so do those that oppose you. So two separate people made their way onto my wall, as we used to call it, or comment section.
Do me a favor.
Most recently,
talk about the lady first, and the back and forth, because this part is really important, and how hitting her with facts and sources and all that stuff, how it doesn't do anything. Just because I want people to relate to that. I think that's important.
So people would have to understand, I was a DJ for 11 years, and at the height of my DJ career, I became the full-time official in-arena DJ for the Phoenix Suns. And I got to do a radio show with my best friend. But a radio show, Cardi B tickets, Migos, underground hip-hop, like everything that you would expect from a hip-hop radio show. It's fun, it's celebratory, it's not overly serious, it's definitely not political. Except George Floyd was murdered. And talking about that on the radio put me and Ramses in a position where we had to make some very interesting career decisions. So when I go from that to being press credentialed to cover the rally for what might be the first black female president in our country's history, I feel damn proud about that. And I simply shared that I was press at the Kamala Harris Tim Walz rally. I did not endorse a candidate. I did not implore people to vote for her. Just really celebrating a moment for myself. Sidebar, pay attention to the party that's imploring people to register to vote in general. One party saying register to vote. They're not even saying vote for me, just register to vote and vote.
True.
The other party's not saying that.
True.
Not even to vote for them. So that's just something that we should pay very close attention to. And this young lady, who I will not name, commented, "Wonder how many people were really there, as the Photoshop photos in front of Air Force Two had no reflection of people in them." Now, what Ramses had to teach me to do, God bless my brother,
The Zoom,
is give people the benefit of the doubt.
oh,
Because I be ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some things are black and white, not gray.
You know what I'm saying? People that are listening, y'all can't see my face, but you know what I'm saying too. So I said, you know what? Maybe in good faith, this young lady was fooled by one of those photoshopped images, because anybody can be fooled by that stuff. Not all people are here intentionally for the propaganda. They just end up victim to it. Somebody that was louder than me told them something, so they think it's true. So let me just educate her, because I was there. I can just show her a first-hand account that that's not photoshopped, and that there were really thousands of people there.
19,000, I think,
Yeah.
something like that.
And my photo and video and comment from first-hand accounts, because you see this press thing, were not enough for her. And this is when you start to see that this is something else. Her response to me saying, so the problem with the Photoshop conspiracy theory is that we have live video footage of Air Force Two arriving and of all of the rallies. In this case, I was there, not Photoshop, but you have fun with that. Her response, I'll just make a left here because we're not in the same reality and we don't agree with what facts are. Okay, she's the VP now. Why is she waiting to maybe win and not making changes now? So we're not even going to acknowledge the Photoshop myth that we just debunked. We're just going to change the goal. We'll move the goalpost. Let's talk about something completely different and deflect.
Wonder where she got that from.
At this point, I quit. But I have a brother here. And he presented her with credible, sourced articles. And at this point, I'll spend all day trying to read all of these responses for her, because she's very committed to nothing's real. And, oh, you're one of them. I thought you were somebody who might have been taken advantage of. And this is what I mean when I say some people show up and they're kind of ashamed to be Make America Great Again from the jump. They need to kind of be...
They don't want to make it about them. They want to make it about how you're wrong, not how they're right.
Yes.
Right? So let me jump in here.
Please.
Because for this one woman, as Q mentioned, she would kind of move the goalpost, and moving that goalpost meant that now we have a new thing to engage with. So one of the things I want folks to take from this is where I chose to engage, because I know Q that's not his thing. It's like I have a little bit more reserves there, not a lot, but I have a little bit more. And that feeling of like somebody coming and saying some comment and they're wrong and you just letting it live, that's hard for me. That's hard for a lot of us, like, because you're wrong and I got to tell you. But it's a slippery slope, as we'll get to. So anyway, I didn't say anything to her, anything at all. I just provided links. So when she's like, well, what about Kamala Harris?
Credible links.
Credible links. What about
It's
Kamala Harris doing this? And then I would send her a link. And then she'd be like, oh, well, that's CNN. That's the Clinton News Network. And there's tons of links. That's just the first one that I found, right?
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see, okay, this person is not looking for credible evidence. So then she moves the goalpost again. So then I say, before you hit the rest of these MAGA talking points, here's a whole Time magazine article debunking all these popular MAGA myths about Kamala Harris, right? So then I submit that. And then she responds saying, oh, well, this must be true because I have a link to it. And the link said
YouTube.
Tim Wall's YouTube parody account, or parody of Tim Wall's song or something
Parody
like that.
in the title.
Parody in the title. I didn't even click it, but it said parody right there.
YouTube and not like CNN or credible news source.
Someone that's anchored to some journalistic credibility. So what I've started to see, and this happens quite a bit, but to see us kind of go through it and see mentally where a person can take you, I started to realize, you know what, this is something that a lot of people are going through right now, especially people who are in support of Kamala Harris in the midst of these crazy disinformation campaigns, in the midst of these bots, in the midst of all of this misinformation, as I mentioned, disinformation, to try to defend their position, their intelligence, their integrity as a voter, as a conscious being in this society. And so I came up with some action steps that I saw Q take and that I kind of jumped in and took too. And this is not the first time we're having this conversation,
and
but
if I can just make a quick comment.
Please. Yeah, go ahead.
I know when it was initially Trump on the ballot years ago, I had a similar conversation, and I can't recall who shared their insight, but I walked away with recognizing, learning in a lot of these instances, right? We're talking about fact versus opinion or
emotions
or alternate fact or emotions, right? A lot of folks on the other side who do throw this away, right? You're putting things in their face. We have to recognize that this is tied to who they are,
their identity,
at the deepest core, their identity. So you're trying to change more than just an opinion.
Just an opinion, exactly. So here's some advice that I think you want to take with you, some action steps. Number one, just don't engage. Number one, just don't engage, right? If you can find it within yourself, don't do it. But if you must, know that it's a war that you need to win, not a battle. So don't give all your attention to this one thing.
That's good.
Keep a cool head. Cite your sources. You might end up learning something. I found out that Trump didn't actually cut the CDC funding. He just wanted it cut, and I had to apologize for that on the air. Prepare for lots of cognitive dissonance, and don't be afraid of the block button. So we'll leave that one right there. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for tuning into Civic Cipher. I've been your host, Ramses Ja.
He is still Ramses Ja. I am most of the time Q Ward.
Indeed. And thank you so much to our guest, Brandy Irvin, Tilly Hornback. Thank you for coming in and for just being who you are, being the women that we look up to, that protect us, that
always
keep us in position to be able to do what it is we do. You inspire us, and we're grateful for the both of you being here. Just because we have a few moments, we want to say it again. The Black woman is as close to God as we'll ever be on this planet, and so the thanks is never going to be enough, but we will say that much and make sure that we share with the audience. If you want to submit anything, questions, topics, any donations you want to submit, do so at civiccipher.com. You can follow us on all social media at Civic Cipher. And until next week, y'all.
Peace.